RSA, and we'll talk you through a tune I made yesterday. It's a little lo-fi number, and the way I started the song was with my iPhone using an app called IMaschine. So I'll just open that out. There we go. So this is made by Native Instruments. It's a paid app, but it's quite full featured. I think about 20 quid, something like that. So this is a loop. So that's just the main loop that I made there. There's also a second section that I've used for the breakdown. I didn't end up using those drums. I decided just to do some snaps as well, but we'll see how we get to the track. So basically what we've got going on here, so this first instrument down here is a kit from one of the NI expansion packs called Faded Reels. So that's got my drum beat in it. I'll just solo that so you can listen to it quickly. So we've got nice little beat there, so that became the percussion in the track. I just see further on I filtered it a little line out and put another kick and snare in later on. This is the keys. So there, it's basically a pad full of chords that I've kind of played in. Okie doke, and then over here, this little geezer, channel 3, is just the very end of the progression. It's just a little guitar stab. So here at the end of the loop, just that little thing there, and then finally, I can't remember if I actually used this in the track or not, but it's just opened the back door, hit record, and got some outside noise. This is also going to an effect. It's going to a filter, so we've got a high pass filter on there, just taking out that low end rumble. You can hear the wind there. Okay, so basically once I've got myself a little loop going, the next thing I had to do was, recording, basically go in, it makes a solo each instrument, and then it's basically email it to myself. So you got here, go to the share and export audio, and then we've got the option, so it renders it out, and then you can just go in there, send it to yourself on the old email. Okay, so that's basically how I started the track. Okay, so once I emailed myself it, I jumped on the computer and downloaded the files I've created, and I saved them in my samples folder, in a folder called LoFi loops for IMaschine. So basically every time I do something nice on there, I send myself it over, I pop it in the folder. The reason I like to import it this way, so it's, well, first of all, so I can listen to audition things in Ableton without popping out to iTunes, but also just in case I get over there not really feeling it that day, then it's there for later on. I can always pop in there in my sample library, I know where it is, I can try it out again later on. Okay, so first things first, this is the kind of the finished arrangement. You can see it's not massive, there's not loads going on, it's just kind of short and simple, just a nice afternoon's worth of production. So first of all, let's break down the drums. So I have in here, I'll just play this little section here where most of the stuff's going on. Drum soloed. Okay. So first things first, up here we've got kick and a snare. So I did have a kind of kick and snare sound in the original pair clip, but I decided to kind of roll it off and just strengthen it by adding some more sound. So on here we have it's a drum rack, it's got a kick just on its own, not a lot going on with the kick, basically just a kick sample. Then on here we have the snare. So the snare consists of two snare sounds. So we have got this initial sound here. It's quite a snappy little snare. It's quite high pitched, so to add some bottom end in, I've got this second snare, and it's got a gated reverb on it as well, so without the gate on, let's have a listen. So the point of the gate on the reverb is to kind of wash the sound out with reverb, but allow it to stop in time so it doesn't kind of mess up the tracking. So that's it with no gate on it. And then with the gate on, we've got, so you can see it adds the fullness of the reverb, but it kind of stops in time, so it's not kind of washing out, so it fills the sound out but doesn't last a really long time, and starts kind of rolling into a kind of reverb soup. Then on here as well I've got an EQ, so that it's just the mid-range frequencies we've got there, without the EQ. You see we've got that kind of high end I was trying to kind of escape from. We take the gate off and just see, so that's it with no gate and EQ. So we've got those high ends that I don't need, and also it's the tail's really long, so I'll put that back in the mix. Then bring this back in, and we've got, it's just a little bit the second snare down a little bit kind of bottom end. Then this is a cymbal. We're not actually used it in the strap, we used that further down. So that is my kick and my snare. This is the perk that I brought in from the track, from the IMaschine. So you can see here, I've chopped up a little bit, not so much here, move over here. So I've got some EQ automation going on here. So what I've done here, I've just got a little bit of stutter effect, so I've duplicated a couple of hits. I've also, once I've duplicated it, I've consolidated that into one audio clip. The reason for this is because, if I pop in here I'll show you, I've got some pitch transposition on here. So on here we've got the clip, transposition, this is the automation here, so I'm pitching it down, turn it off. So yeah, that's just pitching it down. On this one here, it's pitching it up. So we'll turn that off. Here. And as you notice here as well, I've automated the EQ there, just because I was getting a lot of kind of low end rumble off this sample. When I was without the EQ, I just, it's kind of really low, and it was just interfering with the bass line. So that's why I've done that automation there. Also on here I've got CLA drums, and I've just kind of pushed the compression up a little bit to take all the reverb all the way off, and just rolled the bass end off here. I've already got off here, but just to kind of accentuate that. So with that off, so it's really just adding a little bit of compression there at the moment. Okay, so moving down, we have the snap sound. So it's quite cool the effect I've got here at the moment. I've just, on the master, I've got a auto filter. I'm kind of sweeping in, like using the beginning to sweep the song in. I also used it to kind of sweep off before the to kind of roll the highs right down before the tune kind of drops. But it's kind of happy that accent here, the effect it's got with the snap. If I just play it, so it kind of pulls it down and lets the reverb tail back through again. So it's quite a nice little effect there. So in terms of the snaps, it's got nothing on it. That's basically just a sample, no effects needed. So it's the reverb, everything's all on the sample itself. It's got a little bit of panning up. Yeah, so that's the snap. Next thing is the ride cymbal. So yeah, the snap's just dragged and dropped in. Just kind of put it on the bar. The reason being that I don't need to really worry about groove at that point, because I just kind of land on the offbeat, and you always kind of want those solid to the grid. Okay, so the next one is the ride cymbal. So the ride cymbal I've just played in on my drum pad, so it's really loose. One of the things I didn't do in IMaschine that I should have done probably was turned up the amount of swing to make it a little bit less statics, but I made up for that by kind of playing these drums in manually. So the ride has on the top of it, I've got Eddie Kramer drums, which is one of my favourite kind of drum plugins, especially with kind of high end sounds. You see, it kind of really cuts through in the mix. I don't know what it is about the plugin. I always put it on the room mode, especially when I'm doing techno hi-hats, which just makes them lush. On here as well, I've got this Kramer Pi plugin as well. It's not really doing a lot, to be fair. It's just kind of adding a bit of character. Turn it off. Yeah, adding a bit of volume. Yeah, it's working. And then over here we have the EQ on there. So you can see it's quite aggressively high filtered. Take that off. Yeah, so it's just kind of placing it the right height in the mix. Okay. So that's the drums. Next thing then. So this is the bass line. So for the bass line, I first things first, I didn't know what the chords were. I just kind of played it off the app. So the first thing I did was I went to the chords, brought in, and I added Spectrum Analyzer. So over here, Spectrum Analyzer. So this is if you've got some chord and you don't know what the pitch is, you know, you don't have a MIDI keyboard around to kind of fiddle around on, one of the quickest ways of finding out the pitch is to pop this on. So open up by clicking this as well, and what we're looking for is this kind of lowest note here, and that's going to tell you what the fundamental note of the chord is, so the root, the kind of lowest note being played. So if you kind of go off that, then you can kind of get an idea of writing bass lines. So if you just hover over, it tells you the note. So kind of come back now, the bass line is over here. So I kind of came up with this bass line. So that's the notes there. So basically using Spectrum Analyzer and throwing a little bit of these little kind of chromatic runs in here as well, just for a bit of flavour. The instrument I used for it was analog that comes with Suite. A very, very simple patch, just a sine wave and a square wave. Just adjusting the volume of the square wave so it wasn't quite as aggressive. So that's just a sine wave. So it just adds a little bit of aggression to the sound, the sine wave being very, very gentle. Then it's coming through an amp, just to add a bit of volume. Then I've got this compressor, this side chain from the kick and snare, but it's so that's how it's bouncing as we turn it off. So the side chain obviously working every time the kick and the snare hits, pulling the volume down on this, so that this compressor, instead of listening to the bass, it's listening to the kick and snare channel for gain reduction. Then we have another compressor, this time it's the CLA 76. and this is really just to even it out, to obviously reduce the dynamic range. Okay, and then finally we have this EQ, just taking away that kind of aggressive top end. Okay, so that's the bass line. So next thing we've got the basically the stuff I took from IMaschine. So the first thing is, I'll get rid of that. So on here I've added some processing. So just kind of lo-fied up a little bit. So on here I've got 3 chains. I have the original, so the original one here with nothing on it. Then I've got this piano-centric plugin by Greg Wales, as one of the Waves plugins. And this one here is the lo-fi piano sound that I use quite a bit. So that's just that little bit. Put the volume on. So it's just kind of lo-fiing up a bit. This is the clean one, and then on this one I've got the Waves Abbey Road plugin, and on this one I've got the noise and the crack all the way down. I'm just using the wow and flutter to give it a bit of movement. Just kind of emulating the sound of a record player that isn't the best in conditions. Okay, so that's kind of what I've done to the keys. Then on the guitar lick we brought in, I've got CLA 76 again, and I've got some EQ, just adding some brightness around about 3K, so let's see what that sounds like. I'll just do the spec, I don't need at the moment. So also on there I've got a send, so I'm sending it off to this little tinker here, my H delay plugin, which I love, probably my favourite delay. Quite a bit of feedback on there, keeping it going. We'll just do it without the effects here. So you can see it's a bit kind of muffled without the EQ on. Just add a little bit there, and then with the compressor on, just add some volume. Okay. Next thing then, moving down, we've got some ambience. So this is the Granger Mark in Town. On here's a little heavy filtering, and then another CLA 76. So you can hear at the beginning there, when the tune's kicking in, it's panned centrally. But then as we move into the song, I've got a little bit of gap there. It moves in off to the right, just to make room for more instruments down the middle. Then down here we've got a little bit of ambience, so we'll come to the breakdown to change the ambience, so kind of change the acoustic environment from being the food market to being a field. So on, we've also got another send going on here. I've got this reverb, I've got the keys going as well. I've just noticed as well, this is the IMaschine reverb. This one I've been really getting into recently. Okey-doke. Finally on the master, I've got this auto filter and I used to introduce the track and to end it. So it's automated beginning to the end in this little section here. And then finally on the master we have Ozone 8. Let's open up, and I've been cheeky chappy and I've used Mastering Assistant in this instance, and then the two things I've changed after using Mastering Assistant is I have pulled the threshold down on the limiter to make it louder, and I've changed it to IRC2, which is which I feel is kind of the best algorithm here. Okay, so that's basically how I made the track. Hope you enjoy watching. Trap.